we're coming out despite the bad weather, although this weather is the perfect starting point for Understory, who focuses on bad weather, right? So today, it's great to see so many new faces here. We are really excited to have you. Feel free during the presentation to get up and refill your coffee cup. We're a pretty casual bunch here. And before we get into introductions, we just want to really give a big thank you to our sponsors, the library who provides us with this space, 100 State, who has sponsored the coffee from Crescendo. It's delicious if you're a coffee drinker. And also to Field 59 in the, what? It's gone. Oh no. So we needed more coffee today.
If anyone wants another cup of coffee, I'll run downstairs and get you one. So just
awesome. And then we have Field 59 in the back, who has been a sponsor of ours since the beginning. Field 59 provides a live stream to all of the 1 Million Cups presentations and also a video recording. So you can always go to our website or our YouTube channel and you can see the great work done by them, or you can tune in if you can't physically make it here. And then just a real quick announcement for the upcoming early stage symposium. It's happening in November, and we have here you're in the. Where are you? Yes, there we go. We're doing a. You're going to be one of our panelists. We're going to do a topic on healthcare investing, and I'll be moderating that. It's also a great chance to meet investors and see what's happening in the state of Wisconsin in terms of investment. There's going to be a women's reception too, celebrating women in the industry the evening before. So we have dates and times and all that information if you'd be interested in signing up on our website, and you can always reach out to me. So then really quick, we're going to go around the room and do some introductions so that Alex can understand who's in the room and also you know who you're sitting with. My name's Rachel Neal. I'm one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups, and I also work at Nordic Consulting.
My name is Rachel Robinson, and I'm the co-founder of .com Therapy.
My name is Eric Brown. I'm a business consultant here in Madison. I work mainly with entrepreneurs and early stage companies.
Kurt Peterson, co-founder of 32 Auctions, a platform for hosting and managing silent auctions.
Steve Claude, co-founder of 32 Auctions as well.
Tom Willis, I work at the Weather Company, and I do some IP consulting occasionally as well.
Holly Siegel, I work for Talavant. We do business intelligence consulting.
And is actually working on Nordic's Power BI and data visualization solution and doing a fantastic job.
Thanks, Rachel.
I'm Dennis Barnum. Among many things, I'm here as a Merlin Mentor, which is an organization of experienced business people that provide free mentoring services. So if anybody is in need of that, Rachel's already got my card. Let me know and I'll connect you up with that.
I'm Dan Anderson. I work with the accounting firm of Baker Tilly.
Gordy Massey, I'm a patent holder inventor. I'm just checking this place out. You know, looking at how to bring it to market, I guess.
I'm Julian with Torque Labs. We use technology to prevent common knee injuries.
I'm Jordan. I'm with Advertise, help small businesses grow, succeed with little or no advertising budget.
I'm Winnie Karanja, and I am the founder of MADEM, an organization focused on getting more girls and students of color in the technology sector.
I'm Jake. I work at United Way, and I've heard great things, so I just wanted to come check it out today.
I'm Laura. I also work at United Way.
Yeah, Michael. I run Bunker Labs at Research Park.
I'm Anthony Timmons. I'm with the state of Wisconsin.
Dimitri Sapunas, Chief Strategy Officer at Tacit, an identity management company.
Brian Robertson, software sales and marketing, strong interest in startups, and happy to give free marketing, sales and marketing advice to startups.
Mike Wagner, just joined Akita, a facility management software company just up the street.
Hi, I'm Mary Turk. I'm the Turk of Turk & Strauss. We're a virtual law firm based in Madison and in Seattle, Washington.
I'm Sam Strauss, also with Turk & Strauss.
I'm Jennifer Javornik. I'm with Film and Games. We make educational video games.
I'm Ashley Powell with BendyWorks. We do custom software.
Carrie Truman, I'm the Director of Investments at Mark.
Sean the Doctor, organizer of Million Cups and Halifax Ventures.
Shannon Flash from Communication Group.
Jeremy Udovich with Heiko Solutions. We're an offshore software development, embedded systems, and data science firm. About 300 engineers in Eastern Europe.
Eric Lawrenson, tech reporter with the Capital Times.
I guess I'm first in line. I'm Wes. I'm a co-founder at Kirby. We build marketing automation tools for private practices. And this is Levi. He's a future co-founder or something.
I'm Drew Corson. I'm one of the organizers at A Million Cups and an attorney with Knight Boucher.
Scott Resnick with Starting Block Madison.
So thanks for the introductions. We're going to turn things over to Max.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Alex Krimchek. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Understory, and I didn't really know the format. So what I'm actually going to do today is everyone's going to get what our employees get when they first join Understory. So see a little bit of the history, learn more about our culture. Might go over time, so you'll be able to ask questions, and maybe I'll be able to flip to those slides later. So, and today is perfect for us because we're getting really good data about rain. So we're really excited that it is raining so terribly today. So that's fantastic. But yeah, so why we exist is so the U.S. has some of the best weather data in the world, but it's looking at or using radar and satellites, which are looking 45,000, 50,000, 60,000 feet above the ground. And they do an incredible job of mapping that out, but they don't see what's happening on the ground where people and businesses are, and so they miss a lot. So here's an example of a storm. This was a $1 billion hailstorm out of Dallas, Texas on March 23rd. This is what the radar saw. So you're looking at this is something called a hail swath, which basically shows the size of hail during the course of the storm. So you can imagine that cell moving across this area and creating a lot of damage. But with this storm in particular, the radar missed most of where the damage actually occurred. And that's because it was basically looking at this big blob in the sky of where the hail actually exists. And it says, okay, I got this big blob of hail here, but where is that actually going to hit the ground? And so usually the models get that wrong, and that causes problems for a lot of insurance companies. So we solved this by installing sensors on the ground where it really matters, so where that data actually impacts people and businesses. So here's what that storm actually looked like. So there's a lot more damage to the north and to the south. And what's really exciting about these stations is no one else has deployed sensors in this way before. So we have unprecedented data on the ground, and so we actually don't know why the radar missed it so terribly. Maybe the radar is getting blocked by all the stuff in the sky, or maybe hail is shooting out the top of the thunderstorm. And that's really exciting to me because when I started the company, I was studying atmospheric science, something called cloud microphysics, which is a study of how particles interact inside a thunderstorm to cause them to grow or shrink. And so why I was so interested in starting Understory is because I saw this huge need for this data on the ground. And with our sensors, we're actually capturing this unprecedented hail information. So I apologize for all the science here, but I'm going to geek out for a second. But what you're looking at here is a station's color-coded based on what hail hit that particular station. So this red blob here, that's one station, and this blue area is another station. But essentially what you're seeing is the storm march across Dallas to hit our sensors. So it started out a little bit, not as much hail, but towards the end as it started to grow, it started hitting a lot more hail. And what's really cool is this, you actually notice this wedge shape here. That's something that no one else has captured before, which tells us a lot about the storm and how it could potentially damage buildings. So what we do is we actually deploy these sensors where no one else actually has this data. So the sensors that we're building, they have this thing, this shiny stainless steel ball on top, and that's how we're getting our hail size, our wind speed, and our rainfall. And so you can actually look on top of the 316 building where Red Sushi is. If you're going to Red Sushi, they're not paying me for this, but it's a good place to go to. But you can look on top of that building, you'll actually see these things poking out the top there. But the ball that sits on top of that allows us to see something that we call the atmospheric force. So that's actually the momentum of the hail as it's hitting the station, the wind as it's blowing towards that, and then we actually track each individual raindrop as it's hitting that station, and that's how we're able to see the weather, what's happening at the location. And then there's another piece of the station here that's called a aspirated shield, and that's where our temperature dew point, humidity, pressure, and other measurements are actually occurring. So that's important because we're actually pulling in ambient air to make sure that we have the perfect amount of, or the perfect responsiveness to whatever's happening. So a cold front comes through, we can respond to that as quickly as possible. And so we deploy these in a grid fashion about every 2 miles based on the density of the population, some climatological factors, and the topography so that we can actually map out the weather inside that area. And currently we're deployed in 4 cities. Technically we're deployed in Madison and Boston. There's only a handful of sensors right now. Madison will be coming online in about 6 months. We'll have about 20 to 25 sensors. We're currently about to deploy in Houston as well. And so what we're trying to do right now is really build out our footprint. So each city requires about 50 to 70 sensors depending on the population size, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But why this is so exciting is that weather affects everything. So according to a study that came out a couple of years ago, is about $500 billion of the US GDP fluctuates just on temperature alone. So there's a lot of impact for our data. And I talk about how the US has some of the best weather data in the world. All these other countries have almost nothing, and so there's a big opportunity for us to deploy our sensors there as well. So that's something that we're looking at growing. But with a lot of these different markets, we need nationwide coverage to actually create value. So that's why we're focusing primarily on insurance, because we can deploy sensors inside a city and create value for insurance companies. So we do that in 2 ways. One is proactive claims management, so they can actually see what's happening right after a storm concludes. So right now, insurance companies only know what happened after a storm based on how many claims are getting filed after the storm, just because the weather data isn't good enough. And what we allow them to do is actually see how badly their policyholders are going to be damaged after the storm, where they can deploy their claims adjusters, so we can show them areas that are really easy to adjust, areas that are going to be more difficult to adjust, and areas where you're going to have contractors trying to replace roofs that don't actually need replacing, so they can actually save their policyholders from paying a deductible that they don't need to, and not having their rates go up. And the other side of that is we also create this tool that allows them to talk to their policyholders. So it's a message platform that's based on the data, so they can say, hey, we saw that you had damage at your home. We'd like to send someone out and process this claim as quickly as possible. Or on the flip side, we saw there's damage in the area, but good news, your house is okay. So just diving a little bit more into that, the damage analytics side is, so what we do is we're measuring the hail momentum, the distribution of hailstones, and the angle of impact of those hailstones. So we can take all that information together and understand exactly how a home is going to be damaged. So if the hail's falling straight down, that's only roof damage. If it's coming on the side, you're gonna have some more siding and gutter damage. That's how we can actually see how badly a home is damaged, and so we can estimate how many losses, show them where to put claims adjusters, how to staff call centers, and then where they're going to prioritize their storm response. So when you're looking at a really big storm, insurance companies have to call something called a CAT, which means that they're going to apply more resources to that. They're going to pull in reinsurance. They're going to pull in more contractors to adjust that storm. And so really having this information as quickly as possible is really important to an insurance company. So we also have this tool that allows them to see exactly how the storm is impacting a city in real time, so they can send out messaging. They can actually queue up messaging for their different policy holders before the storm happens. So once that tornado warning goes out, it'll automatically send out those messages over text, email, or an app API that we have. So we're starting with insurance company, but what's really exciting is we own and operate these networks. So that allows us to use the same data for multiple markets. And one of the things that we're doing next is we're actually, one of our major investors is Monsanto. So we're looking at how we can use our data to help improve agriculture. So the same data can be used for multiple markets. So we're using it for insurance right now inside cities. We'll be looking at deploying stations in rural areas for agriculture. And then a lot of that data can also be used for transportation, utilities, retail, and it just allows for a lot of different applications of this data. So that's the kind of overall pitch of Understory, but then, so I'm going to quickly go through the Understory story, and I'm sorry for a terrible pun, But so we started in Madison in 2012. This is actually the clipping from one of the articles that we had. So we were called Winstruments at the time. It's a terrible name. Please forget it. We changed that over time. I'll show how that worked. But we started with some business school competitions at UW-Madison. So that really helped us start our initial network. And that was really important for us to actually launch our company. So through those business school competitions, which we did terribly in, we were able to connect with Generator. So we were able to join their first class, so we were more or less their guinea pig, and we were able to learn how to make our business a lot better, and how to actually raise money, which was important. So let's give a quick timeline. So through Generator, we changed our name to a less terrible name, but it's still not quite there yet, but to Substance. And we started to raise money in Wisconsin, but the problem is no one wanted to do hardware. B2B wasn't exciting, so we got a lot of no's, and most of those investors actually forgot that we ever pitched to them, which was interesting. But what we're doing during that time is still proving out our technology. So this is actually one of the early prototypes of the sensor. You can see with a comparison sensor next to it, put it on a frozen lake in Wisconsin. That's how we were able to validate some of the early data that we saw coming in from the wind. And then to actually test hail, it didn't hail in the middle of winter, we actually created this setup that was actually near Regent Street, but basically I would shoot hail at it with a slingshot gun, so that's how we were able to calibrate that. But while we're doing that, we were able to get some initial proof points, to start with an initial pilot customer, but we still weren't able to raise any money to actually get the company off the ground. So that's why we left Wisconsin to find better opportunities in Boston. And so part of that was going to Bolt. Bolt is a hardware seed fund out of Boston, and what's exciting about them is, and their name describes this, is that they bolt a staff onto a hardware company. So you can't just have two guys that are straight out of school really start a hardware company. You need electrical engineers, you need mechanical engineers, you need software engineers, just kind of a whole group of people to actually make that device that you're creating actually manufacturable. So through that, we're able to make our device manufacturable, start deploying it, and that's how we raised our Series seed, which was led by True Ventures. And I don't know if everyone knows who they are, but they're one of the best seed VCs in the country because they go for really big wins. So they're the first money into Fitbit, their first money into Ring, which was called Doorbot at the time, and first money into MakerBot, first money into WordPress. So all these really big things that you've heard about. They really try hard to find those companies, and they really empower their founders to do really awesome things. So with that money, we're able to deploy our sensors in Kansas City. So this is actually one of the first sensors we deployed. We started doing it on cell towers. Here's a little bit better picture so you can see it on the cell tower. And so we deployed about a few of these sensors. Problem was, the first ones that we deployed didn't work. So we found some ways to actually make them work a little bit better. We were able to start that network, and then the next problem that we had is that they leaked a little bit as well, so that wasn't great to have that out in the winter, or in the middle of the storm season. So we did a lot of testing. So this is actually something called a halt test, where we actually shake the units violently to actually see where the failure points are, put them in a wind tunnel and actually shot hail them there. And that really allowed us to make the station a lot better. And one of our big breaks was when, this is Eric Hewitt, one of our director of IT at Understory, and they actually went and did this storm chasing event where we saw this huge hailstorm barreling down on Boston. And so Eric and Brian, my co-founder, went out and actually chased the storm. And in full Twister style, they actually drove in front of the hailstorm, deployed the sensor, and they ran into a neighboring building while transformers were blowing up behind them, and they were actually able to get our first set of hail data. So that was really exciting to actually have that hail data and one of our first initial proof points of how the sensor could work on a wider scale. So with that and a lot of our successes in Kansas City and Dallas, we were able to raise our Series A, grow our team even more. So that was led by 4490, which is here in town, and Monsanto was participating, as well as CSA partners out in Milwaukee, with participation by True Ventures and RRE. So And that was really exciting. And while we were raising the Series A, Greg Robinson, who's the partner at 4490, said, hey, have you guys thought about potentially moving back to Madison? And at the time, like, we weren't actually thinking about it because we were thinking, well, someday I'd like to come back and actually start an office here, but it just made a lot of sense to us. You know, we were thinking about it in that aspect because, you know, there's a lot of great talent here. There's two major nexuses of insurance companies, one in the Northeast and one in the Midwest, so it makes a lot of sense. And most of our sensors are here. So that's something that made a lot of sense to us. So we came back to our roots, deployed some sensors on top of you know, the 316 building, the nice thing with the Capitol in the back. We're able to launch our new platform with the team. So we're about 18 people now, up from, you know, 8 about a year ago. So that's been really exciting. We've just been able to find really great talent in Madison and the surrounding area. So just some quick numbers. So we have about 105 stations currently deployed. We'll have 445 stations deployed in 6 months. And when we get those 445 stations deployed, we'll have about 5 million homes covered by those sensors, which is about 5% of the total US homes. So that's something that's really exciting to us as we're deploying these sensors out. So just wanted to show you kind of our team now and all the jobs that we actually hired out of Madison. So that was really exciting. So I'm gonna stop here because I think I went way over the 5-minute warning. I do have some culture slides after that, but yeah, so I'm happy to take some questions.
Can you go online and give us some data for this brainstorm this morning?
Yeah.
If you can't, I don't want to embarrass you.
There it is. So yeah, here's I'll show you the live look of what's happening in Madison right now. So we've got about 4 stations up right now. You can actually see them. This is just showing their locations. So each one of these is a wing bar. And then it's really hard to see on the screen, but underneath that is a temperature overlay. And actually, I guess it's about 1 degree difference between all of those sensors right now. So pretty much a uniform temperature. But so you can kind of see a little bit of how well the forecast did. So this blue line is the forecast, and this is the actual. So they got it within 3 degrees, so that's pretty good this time.
I'm kind of curious, where do you see where you need to take this technology moving forward?
Yeah, so we're deploying in 6 cities right now. Our plan is to coat the United States and the rest of the world with the sensors. So deploying.
How about the technology itself? I mean, are there additional things you feel you need to add, or you feel you're fairly complete on that?
I mean, so right now we're using the technology that we've created to open new markets. We're looking at making the device more flexible. Something I didn't talk about is the device itself is actually based on Linux, so that allows us to deploy this DevOps tool on top of it, so we can actually change how the unit is behaving. And so as the devices are out there, they actually grow and self-learn themselves. So by the technology itself, it actually improves itself, which is really exciting. But we will be adding more sensors to it as we see needs for it. But right now, it's about really getting that major footprint out.
What's your biggest hurdle to deploying the sensors?
That's a great question. So deploying these sensors is super difficult. So we started with cell towers, and that one of our major ideas with that was to work with as large landlords as possible, so cell towers, they own a lot of towers, and that allows us to deploy about 30 sensors all at the same time. The problem is it's really expensive. It's about $20,000 per cell tower to actually deploy, and that's really expensive in terms of rent. And that makes that really difficult. So what we've done now is we've completely transitioned over to a canvassing style methodology where we actually have field agents and they go and they work with schools. And so what's exciting about working with schools is that it's a win-win. We deploy a sensor on top of their school. They can use that data in their curriculum. Some of the supervisors at the school can actually use it to call off events or school, just kind of looking at the data that's right at their school. One school that we work with actually puts a live data feed next to their live stream of their football games on Friday nights, which is right next to the stadium. They also won state, all because of our data. Yeah, so that's really exciting. And then we can also just have a location there. And then we provide all the base data to the rest of the community for free. And that's something that we want to do as a company, is that we're improving weather data not just for enterprise, but for everyone. And that's something that we want to make always abundantly clear is that you can actually log on app.understoryweather.com, create an account, and you can actually see live data feeds from all of our sensors just with signing up.
So if you were part of Generator's current class instead of the first class, do you still think you need to leave town to get capital?
No, I mean, a lot of really great things have happened in the past 3 years. I mean, you have 4490 coming in, AmChem Ventures is getting bigger and bigger, so there's these two really big venture groups, and there's a lot more capital starting to pour into the area. So, I mean, there's a ton of work to be done, but it's just really exciting to see where we've progressed from 2012 to today.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Are you selling data now, or at what point to insurance companies?
Yeah, we're selling data now, selling our services now. We're working with most of the top 25 insurance companies at this point.
The data that you've gotten, if I understood correctly how you're using it right now, is real-time and post-event. Are you thinking longer term, as you collect more and more data, you'll be able to go into the forecasting side as well?
Yeah, there's something we're looking at. It'll take me too long to pull it up, but we were able to actually track a tornado on the ground last year in Kansas City, which was really cool to actually see that. We could actually do that by seeing low pressure dips as the tornado went through, so we actually could track the low pressure center of the tornado as it went through the city. So there's a lot of applications there for doing forecasting, but we strongly believe that the only group that should be making those types of watches and warnings is the National Weather Service, and so we want to be able to empower them to make those decisions and not create that ourselves.
How are you transmitting the data? Is it cellular?
Yeah, it's all over cellular, and they're all powered by solar, so completely wireless, and that allows us to have access to the data. And the data transfer is about 50 megabytes a month for each sensor. We also have a high resolution mode where we pull 50 kilohertz data off of a bunch of different channels, and that allows us, it's basically the equivalent of streaming a 4K movie off of Netflix. That gives our data scientists a lot of data to work with and build new algorithms from.
Where besides schools, Alex, will the sensors?
We put them on municipal buildings, mom and pop. Buildings have also been a really great group for us because when we're working with mom and pop stores in a lot of these different cities, they believe in the community aspect of having better with their data, so that helps us as well. But we've also put some on golf courses, so they use that to track their irrigation and that sort of thing. But really, we just try to find areas where our sensors can sit, and then we try to work with brands to find ways that it can be useful for them. Cool.
Great.
Oh, one more question.
Final comment. I find this whole thing fascinating. I never even realized that there'd be a market for something like this. I mean, the concept never even occurred to me until you started explaining it. Very interesting.
Yeah, one of the VPs of claims that we work with calls it the biggest problem that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I'll leave you guys with something really cool that I always like to show. So our most populous network that we have up right now is Kansas City. So I'll zoom in just a little bit here. So that's the same thing I showed before. You can see where the sensors are deployed and the temperature, but I'm going to switch it over to the wind visualization. And so you can actually see, we interpolate the data in between the stations, so you can actually see exactly where those wind patterns are moving throughout the city. So it's not just at the stations themselves, but we do a lot of models to understand what's happening in between. So when this comes to Madison and anyone's an avid biker, please look at this.
Why does it all seem to be going towards the center there, Alex? See the wind currents?
That's a good question. I don't, because it is, maybe it was lifting there. I don't know. But right now it's all pretty low, so with those swirling patterns, you're probably not going to see a lot. When a big storm comes through, you'll just see this huge just like push of wind going across the city, or see it like the cold front come through.
That's really cool.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, we always like to ask you, how can we as the community help you? And especially given that we have such a great turnout today, are there any asks? Are you looking for human capital or actual capital or any advice on business? What can we do to help you?
So right now, we are hiring for a junior front-end designer, which has been really difficult in the area. So if anyone knows anyone that wants to, build really cool weather visualizations or do a lot of design work, that's something that we're looking at. And then we're also, since we're deploying in Madison, if anyone knows of any locations that would, benefit from a weather station, we always want to talk to people and find out where we can actually deploy those sensors.
Great, well, thank you so much, and thank you also to Field 59 and 100 State and Crescendo for the coffee. And thank you so much to all of you. This is a great turnout. We've had a really good run lately. Please keep coming back. We have a great slate of presenters coming up. See you next week.